as you know, tomorrow is a new day, or should I say a new year, given that this video should be uploaded on the 31st of December, maybe the 30th, depending where you live. But tomorrow is 2026. So, usually when I go about making videos, for many years I've done, the rewinds, the looking back at moments, posting clips, doing this, doing that, throughout my YouTube journey. And, last year I didn't do anything specific for the unRealistic channel, but I thought that this year, instead of, just looking back at certain clips and putting everything together for a nice massive mashup, I think it's better to reflect a little bit on a video that I have talked about previously on this channel, but I feel holds a lot more weight given kind of what I actually said in the video. So I'm going to play the clip for you here so you can just, have the context of what I'm about to talk about, and then we'll go from there. Bear with me. Because I feel like it isn't going to make any sense if I just tell you what to do, I'm going to actually go and do it. So today, I have decided I'm going to make a new channel specifically for these types of videos. I also see the beauty in starting something new and actually finishing it. So this is not only a goal for myself, but a reminder and physical proof for anybody who watches this to actually stick along on the journey and see where it goes. I feel like putting this online is forcing myself to be accountable for these things. And mishaps are going to happen. There's going to be weeks where I'm going to forget. It's going to be times when I'm too lazy. But ultimately, if I let those mistakes and mishaps define me, then I guess you can see that I'm not as much of a prophet as I might be sounding like. So, as you heard me in the clip, I decided, back in August of 2024 to revamp the unRealistic channel or properly start it. I had the account made, but I just never did anything with it, except for that very first video I had, which I've talked about previously. But basically, the video after that was the first kind of genuine video I decided to do in this kind of format. So if anybody who doesn't know, I used to work a lot on this other channel called Not Jin, which is the other channel I have on my page. And what I would do is I would upload, a multitude of different contents, whether it was introspective, gaming, funny, random stuff. Like I was really doing it all. And the reason I kind of got into the introspective content was that I used to do it a lot when I was younger, except I just didn't have like a big enough worldview or understand enough about the world or people or about anything to really be spitting the advice I was spitting. So I kind of just stopped doing it. And also, I released a video called The 2-Week Minecraft Phase. And that video did quite well. It was in a kind of documentary, kind of like introspective style. Kind of like these videos, but just obviously talking about content related to Minecraft with, a bunch of visuals in the background. So a little bit different, but kind of same premise. And, people really liked the way that I was describing it, how I implemented my own stories and experiences and stuff. And it kind of had me thinking like, damn, I actually really enjoy making videos like that. So I started trial and erroring with a couple different, versions of videos like that. Some just talking on basic Minecraft footage, others with music and gameplay and stuff. If you go back and watch some of those videos, you'll see what I mean. But it wasn't until like August of that 2024 time period that I was really thinking to myself, like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm working a job that's kind of sapping a lot of my time. I'm not putting as much into the main channel videos as I'd like. I really enjoy making these types of videos, but like I kind of have a split demographic of viewership on this channel. Some people are only here because of the Vara video. There's a very few select people that were here for the gaming videos, and other people who had just discovered the introspective content who liked it. So it was kind of a massive divide. And I would notice that some videos would be very, very dry in terms of what people wanted out of them, and then other videos that I personally didn't enjoy doing that would do better. And as a lot of YouTubers talk about, it's sometimes better to choose the route of happiness than it is to choose the route of monetary gain. Because at the time I was making very, very little off YouTube, but I just wasn't enjoying it. That's why I kind of stopped uploading on those videos, and I kind of just found the love for this channel. So I decided, let me document proof that I'm going to do something. Because every time I say I'll do something, like most of us do, we usually do it for a little while and then we kind of just fall off the horse and stop doing it. There are a select few times where we genuinely just keep doing it. Like it really depends what the thing it is and how important it is to you, and if you can implement it properly into your life. Like it can be literally anything. Better sleep, better food, goals, going to the gym, reading a book, going for a walk, getting sunlight. Like, I mean, literally anything. So when you actually do this thing, it's like, it's a bit of a weird feeling because, you know, after enough time has passed, it becomes so kind of like synonymous with your life that it doesn't really feel like anything's changed that much. But I really want this video to be, you know, a testament to just how amazing actually committing to something really is. And specifically on a consistency sense. Like, a lot of people will talk about, you won't see the thing on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 5, day 20, whatever, right? But by like day 105 or, you know, day 365, you'll start seeing improvements and you'll see a noticeable amount of difference, right? So just before I kind of got on the mic to talk about this, I was looking through like old videos and I realized like over the year I did 47 videos for the unRealistic channel. I think the goal was originally like 50 to 60 or maybe 40. I have to double check, but you know, and I'm looking at all these videos, I'm seeing like all these different thumbnails that I worked on, all the different times I edited them, the different Minecraft worlds, looking how I just started back in like 2024, and I'm just looking at it and I'm like, damn, I really did commit to doing it. Like, I didn't stop doing it. Because in that video, like, I straight up said, you will see if I end up not doing this. And, you know, whether or not anybody from that video is still here, the fact is, you know, for once I was able to commit to it and do it. And maybe that's because, you know, the internet heard it and saw it, and, you know, I was just less inclined to be lying online saying I was going to do something and not do it. Or maybe the true passion that I have for it just, you know, overdid the laziness, or you know, maybe it was just my my burning desire to work on the unRealistic channel that, you know, prevented me from being lazy and just stopping to do it. But even like, I find it funny, even that video I would talk about, there'd be times where, you know, I'd be really on the ball with it and other times where I'd be off the ball with it. And even looking at some of the upload schedules, some of the moments where I know that I tried a little bit harder than others in some of the videos, even starting with the short form content and how that's been going and, you know, the consistency with that, like, I kind of look at it and I realize, like, it doesn't feel like I did that much, but I mean, looking at it, like, there's countless videos on here, and I remember editing like all of these, especially with the short form. The short form sometimes feels like the most daunting and boring process of it all. But I mean, even looking at it, like, I'm seeing like hundreds of shorts that I've got up here, and all of these took a fair amount of time to do. Of course, there's others on other channels that I work on as well. But I kind of want this to be a kind of like reminder for anybody watching this who, you know, may have felt they didn't really accomplish much in the year of 2025. And of course, I'll go into it a little bit later in the video about stuff outside of the YouTube. Obviously, that's important too. But I kind of want everybody, including, you know, myself, to kind of understand that a year does not need to be defined by all the positives that you can remember. You know, it doesn't need to be defined as, oh, I got this amount of money, or I did this in my career, or I made this many friends, or I did like, you know, like, sometimes one single thing can be enough. And even something as simple as surviving the year. You know, I made it through some bullshit this year. You know, life fucking had me in a chokehold, threw me on the floor, and I got through that. Like, that's enough. The fact that you're sitting here or standing or I mean, I don't know where you are, what you're doing when you listen to this, but the fact that you're here right now, you know, at peace, hopefully, at the time of watching this, or, you know, still going through whatever you're going through, the fact that, you know, you're still here, you're still kicking, and you're still able to have, you know, your small moments, like, that's worth celebrating. And it may not feel like it's worth celebrating, and it may not feel like it's anything that special or substantial, but you got to think about it, right? There's a lot of years in your life. You know, hopefully a lot of us will get to grow up old and, you know, have a long, fulfilling life. There's also a lot of times in your life where you're going to have absolute highs and absolute lows. But the fact that you still made it through the absolute low is something to be proud of. And, you know, let's say, you know, you didn't really have a tough year this year, but, you know, maybe you didn't accomplish as much as you wanted to. You can't tell me that you didn't learn anything over this entire year. And sometimes learning things don't even need to be things like skills or work-related things. It can be things like, oh, I learned how to talk better to people, or I learned to, you know, handle my emotions better, or, you know, maybe I learned how to do this instead, or maybe I was a little bit nicer to myself this year, or maybe I got closer to one of my friends or to my partner or whatever. Like, there are so many small things you can appreciate over the year. And kind of going back into what I was speaking on consistency, even the consistency of like showing up for yourself or doing something simple, like even if you just started going to the gym this year. And, even if you're not where you want to be progress-wise, you still went to the gym for like a year or, a couple months straight. Like, that's still something to be proud of, because a lot of people don't even bother. They don't try. They don't even want to see the reality where it could happen. And the fact that you even bothered to try and you are still trying is something worth celebrating. It's something worth endorsing yourself with, congrats, giving yourself a pat on the back. And, whether or not it takes me or somebody else to tell you that, it's just a reality that sometimes it's easier to only focus on the negative than actually realize how much was done. And, I'm always a big believer in that you should document your process and progress with anything. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's gym photos, YouTube or follow accounts, how much money in your bank account, projects, ideas. Like, just kind of have a mental image, or even like a document, like a sheets or a doc where you show like progress each month. Like, I have a progress tracker where I put down, what I've done for the day, YouTube subs, like all these kind of different things, so I can look back on where I was at like a couple months ago. Like, right now, I'll have a look at it while I'm discussing this video. I made this tracker in August of 2025, and at the time, on August 17th, 2025, I had 1,134 subscribers on the unRealistic channel. Now I have 1,914, and that was what, 4 months ago? Just a bit over 4 months ago. That's a perfect example of progress. Even if your progress isn't solely based on numbers, there is still a substantial amount of growth. And the thing I love looking at this, like, I can see there are some weeks where I would get -1 subscriber, or even like only 2. Then there'd be a week where I got like 400. And, like, I can see these different weeks. I can see the moments where, it was an unproductive week, where I was really productive. Parts where I would talk about how good I felt that week and how crap I felt the other day. Like, just having a mental log to look back at these things and be like, you know what? Damn, I actually did a lot over this year. And that's really what I want to emphasize to you all in this video, because sometimes it is so goddamn hard to just appreciate the moment, especially when you're going through it. You got some BS going on in your house or your home with your friends, with your family, in life. You just feel like nothing's going your way, and then you look back at your track record and you're like, you know what? Damn, I actually did a lot this year. And even for myself, like, I could think of so many positives and things I actually did this year. Like, one of the big ones, and it's gonna sound stupid to nobody who doesn't have the context, but one of the biggest things that was, haunting me for a lot of my life was actually getting my driver's license. And as dumb as it may sound, right? I was never taught how to drive by my family at all. No one ever did it. I went driving with my family for maybe a total of 4 hours in my entire life. Like, a total driven time. Everything else was either with friends, paid lessons by me, or some other form of driving, whatever you can think of. And I basically paid to win my way to get my license. And when I got it, I felt so happy about myself. Even if that was the only thing I did this year, that shit had daunted me for fucking years. Like, that shit was like absolutely internally killing me because I didn't have it. And everyone around me, they got their full driver's license. They're driving everywhere. They were making comments about me not having it. And it was getting to me so much. I was only me and my friend were the only two who didn't have it. And then we got it, within a month or two from each other. But, like, the fact is, even that alone is something that meant so much to me. And being able to accomplish that was enough for me to say, that was a great week, great month, great year. So, like, it's important to look back at your kind of year as a whole and really go back and look through the memories, look through certain parts and think, you know what? I'm happy that I survived this year. I'm happy that I did that thing. Like, there are so many little moments we can all look at. But, kind of being on the topic of that, in terms of a year as a whole, it's always good to look back at how you kind of were in the year. Obviously, not to go into a negative spiral after that positive upbringing, but there's going to be your low moments, and sometimes you got to kind of look at, like, you know what, a lot of this year might have been negative, but it isn't negative right now. Or even if it's negative right now, it wasn't negative a month ago. Or even if it was a negative a month ago, it wasn't negative 3 months ago. And it always should be, I can't act like every single moment, every day, every second of this year was just pointless and all for naught. Like, that's how you got to kind of look at it. And I know it's so much easier said than done, looking back at, a year as a whole and being like, yeah, it was amazing compared to, it was like 60% good and 40% bad. But, like, you're never going to be happy and content if you're only focusing on what didn't occur. And even if you just had a year of straight up neutral, just normal, nothing special, there's still, there's still solace in that. There's peace in that. You ever hear the saying, calm before the storm? If you're just chilling, calm ocean, no problems, no sharks, no waves, you're just chilling out in the sun, that's still good too. You still get an opportunity to relax, to have that time for yourself. So, don't beat yourself up over it. Don't feel like you're under accomplished. Don't feel like everyone else is ahead of you. When in reality, you're running your own race here. There are so many other people who I know that were feeling like everyone in the world was ahead of them. Now they're feeling like ahead of the world. It just comes with time. It comes with, growing. It comes with, self-reflection. It comes with, just giving yourself the time to, get the gears moving and moving forward. But of course, let's be honest here. There's always going to be a lot of, things we wish we don't remember through the year. And all I can say is, like, if it's past, it's in the past. And I know everyone always says that, but you really got to think about it. I remember I would think about, oh yeah, these moments really sucked. I hated that this happened, or I hated that happened. And then I'll look at it and I'll be like, damn, bro, 3 months has already happened since then. And I was fine. I was able to live through it. And even just like reminding yourself that as much as something sucks and feels shit in the moment, it does pass. And time is something that's always going to continue to move. So as much as, it will hurt, it will suck, you'll just not want to deal with it. You don't want to deal with it. You don't want to think about it. Next thing you know, it's already been 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 5 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Next thing you know, you don't even think about it anymore. So whenever something bad happens, man, just pick yourself back up and keep moving forward. Sometimes it's hard to take it on the chin, but sometimes you gotta. Now, before we end off this video, I do just want to say a massive thank you to everybody here. Whether, you're a new viewer, an older viewer, someone who's come from the short form content, or someone, who's just been around since the very beginning, the early days of the unrealistic. Even if you were here from the Not Jin channel, I just want to say a huge thank you for staying here, supporting me, and watching the videos throughout the year. It's always a pleasure to see everybody's comments as well, seeing all you guys share your experiences, your thoughts about the things I kind of do. One of my favorite parts about uploading is not even just uploading itself, it's just being able to interact with you all and seeing your kind of reaction to things that, sometimes I feel not everybody would get. So it's always awesome to see everybody actually understanding where I'm coming from, or at the very least, gaining a new perspective, or, at the very least, giving me their own perspective, whether or not you think what I'm saying is right or wrong, whether you think I'm a prophet or full of shit. I always appreciate seeing people's opinions and comments. It's always nice. And of course, wishing you all, a very happy new year and a very Merry Christmas for the last few days, and happy holidays. I was going to upload something for Christmas or, around that period, but, I decided to take a little bit of time off, reflect a little bit, enjoy some time to myself, enjoy this little holiday period. Unfortunately, I don't live, in the cold parts of the world, so I don't have a very snowy Christmas. I had a fucking 40-degree day. Actually, it wasn't 40 degrees on Christmas. It was like cloudy, but, like the day before that, it was hot as shit. Just most inconsistent weather of all time in goddamn Australia. But hey, anyway, that's it for today's video. I'll see you all in the new year. And, take care of yourself, man. Don't drink too much if you do go out for New Year's. Celebrate with your friends and family. And just be proud of yourself. That's all I can say. I'll see you guys soon.